Arapahoe County. And I found this term to be very rewarding and very informational and helpful in understanding the complexity of local government and understanding the influence that an individual candidate and officer within the realm of public service can do to contribute to his or her community. It's important that I've always felt that participation at any level of public service can be very rewarding. And as Margaret Mead, the noted anthropologist, said, it only takes a few committed people to change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that can and will. So thank you very much, and congratulations for stepping up to this challenge.
Thank you, Commissioner Holen. And I also want to acknowledge we have Commissioner Leslie Summey on the call, who represents District 4 and is in her first term as commissioner. And we also have the assessor, PK Kaiser, on the line as well. So thank you as well for being here tonight. And as the commissioner alluded to, county government touches our residents' lives every day, but most people don't realize the scope or the variety of services we provide. So our goal tonight is to explain how Arapahoe County functions and how all of our different departments and offices work together to create responsive service for county residents and business partners. So if we go to the next slide, first we'll go over some background information about Arapahoe County, and then we'll look at the role of the Board of County Commissioners. And then our elected officials and department directors will give you an overview of each of their departments and offices. Finally, after the presentations, we will have a Q&A session. So please jot down any questions you think of during the program. Feel free to drop them in the chat, and we'll answer them all at once our speakers are finished. So to get started, here's a little background on our county and the services we provide. To begin with, Arapahoe County is big. Our border spans over 800 square miles. There are 13 different municipalities within the county, and they represent every type of community, from urban and suburban areas in Aurora, Centennial, and Littleton, to the rural areas of Byers, Bennett, and Deer Trail. We have 9 individual school districts, all serving unique populations of students from different backgrounds, and we serve 513 special districts, especially during election cycles. Our county is also large in population. We are one of the fastest growing counties in the state, with more than 656,000 residents, according to the 2023 U.S. Census Bureau data. Assuming our current trends continue, we will be the most populous county in the metro area by 2030, surpassing the city and county of Denver. The median age of an Arapahoe County resident is about 37 years old, which is almost equal to the statewide average, and our population is becoming more and more diverse. Though more than half of our residents are white, we have large Hispanic, African American, and other populations that make Arapahoe County unique among peer counties. The median annual family income here is just over $93,000, and we have a varied economy. Major industries in the county include everything from farming to construction to independently owned businesses. And as you see here, our top 3 job creators are in the service industry management and office and administrative support fields. We also, like all large counties, unfortunately do have a number of residents who are unemployed or experiencing poverty. About 8,700 families in the county live below the poverty line, and about 17,000 residents are unemployed. And while those numbers aren't ideal, they are trending downward, and we offer services to assist these residents, which some of our directors will speak to a little later on. So what do counties do anyways? It's probably the #1 question we all get. And the primary role we fill is to ensure a healthy, safe place to live and provide the best possible quality of life for our residents. Many of our residents think our Board of Commissioners draft laws and statutes, but we're actually more of a bridge between state and local government. County's authority is specifically laid out in the state constitution, and most of those powers are to enforce the statutes and laws drafted by the state legislature. A good example of this is vehicle registration renewals, The State Department of Revenue sets the fee schedule and determines fees and penalties involved, and each county then collects those fees as an agent of the state. So I'd like to also touch briefly on a quick look at our finances. And more information is always available on our website, which I know they'll drop in the chat. But our budget for this year is $542 million, and almost $247 million of that is used for the general fund. We're proud of the fact that we've had one of the lowest mill levies in the counties. We're proud of the fact that we have one of the lowest mill levies of the counties in the metro area. A little bit of a tongue twister there. And for years, we've created a budget that lets our residents keep as much of their take-home pay as possible. And about a third of our revenue comes from state and federal funding, and just over half of our revenue comes from taxes. Last count, we have about 2,623 full-time employees. So here are just a few of the key initiatives and programs we're working on. As you may already be aware, we are projecting a significant budget shortfall for 2025, and the Board of County Commissioners recently referred a measure to the ballot for the general election in November. You can find more information about that on the county's website. Other programs in the works are launching the new single county 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office, becoming stewards and owners of the Highline Canal, updating oil and gas regulations, and ongoing efforts to address homelessness in the county. The board also adopted a new strategic plan last year and is in the process of implementing that across the organization. And you'll hear more about these and many other initiatives from the individual departments and offices. We also work together with municipal governments and nonprofit organizations to decrease opioid use and help those afflicted by it. And we've also been working for the past 2 years to incorporate principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion into the county's culture and community outreach. Next, let's look at the role of the Board of County Commissioners. Much of the board's role is to make sure every department has the staff and resources they need to provide optimal service to our residents. The board oversees every department, hires managers for those departments, and approves an annual budget. The commissioners also adopt ordinances and decide land use issues within the unincorporated areas of the county. The board also resolves property tax protests in its role as the Board of Equalization, and the commissioners appoint our residents to various committees and advisory boards. And finally, each of the commissioners represent Arapahoe County on various regional, state, and national boards and committees. They advocate for our residents, and they bring back ideas that improve the quality of life for our residents. And they also work with our independent elected offices. And so I believe I'll be turning over to our first presenter of the night, which is Mike Williams. Is that correct? Or Professor Kaiser? Just looking on the screen, to talk about that office's role.
Good afternoon. My name is P.K. Kaiser, and I'm a Arapahoe County Assessor. Thank you for joining us, and it is a pleasure to tell you a little bit more about the Assessor's Office. The County Assessor's Office, the basic job of County Assessor Office is to list, classify, value each and every real and personal property inside the Arapahoe County boundaries. We are also official custodian of the public record, and we maintain the parcel maps for every single property in the county. One of the important role of Assessor's Office is to prepare and present abstract of assessment to the state. We also certify the abstract value to all 515 taxing district inside the Arapahoe County. And every sale we verify, every value we put on in any property is subject to the state audit. And from the last several years, we are passing the state audit without any issue. What we are looking forward is to replace our more than 10-year-old software, which is outdated and making a hurdle into our efficiency. Without asking any more money, we are looking more into incorporating the blockchain and AI intelligence so we can deliver more and enhance our efficiency without causing any penny to the taxpayers. Arapahoe County Assessor Office also provide a tax roll for the treasurers so they can collect the taxes from the property owners. Total strength of Arapahoe County Assessor is 63 employees, out of which 63, 38 are licensed appraisals with the state of Colorado. And we are producing almost 170 billion plus actual values in the state. And about that, out of that, trailer is collecting more than 1.5 billion, with B, taxes to distribute to different taxing entities in the county. I'll be more than happy to answer any question you might have. And next year is actually the revalve year. Every odd year is revalve year, and we are supposed to send value of 240 parcels in the state. To the Arapahoe County property owners. As I said, I'll be happy to answer any question and happy to have with you.
Thank you so much, Assessor. I'm now going to ask Carl Herman from the Clerk and Recorder's Office to provide us a little bit more information.
Thanks, Michelle. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carl Herman, Deputy Clerk and Recorder. Next slide, please. So the basic functions of this office are: 1, recording, where we record official documents, issue marriage licenses; 2, running our elections outfit, which is maintaining voter registration and coordinating election ballot creation and or distribution; and 3, our motor vehicle handling, which is all of the registration and titling. Next slide, please. Thanks. So the detailed work and the breakdown of how our office operates is 4 key divisions. I'm going to start just in size. So our motor vehicle office is our largest office. They deal with, like I said before, registrations and renewals of our titles, but they also deal with disability placards, license plates, and various other technologies we're trying to bring in to make those services easier. Our elections outfit is 480,000 registered voters that we have to serve, which is the 3rd largest in the state of Colorado. And that unit alone is actually broken into 3 smaller divisions. And they're broken up into things like our election services team, which is drop boxes, mailing and tabulating ballots; our voter services team, which is voter registration, address library, and customer service. Basically, that's community outreach with our actual voters. And then there's community services, which is our outreach with our external partners, our judges, our community engagement, like with our various DEOs that we work with, as well as our website and our marketing. And then our 3rd division is recording. Recording, like motor vehicle, is in various offices. I think you can see on the slide that we have actually 4 branches. Recording is only right now located in 3 of those branches, but we plan to expand further into the year. But recording is dealing with, like we said before, recording, indexing, preserving those public records, the ones that our office receives on either property or marriage licenses, but also the ones that the Board of County Commissioners collect that we have to retain. It also has passports. That is not a mandated service, but one that was in high in demand. And on years that we are slower in revenue because of the economic environment, we end up escalating that to increase some of our revenue and meet the needs of our community. And finally is our administrative division. This is one of our newer divisions, and this division in statute is required to do clerk to the board work, that is helping the Board of County Commissioners run their meeting and retain those documents. But we've also expanded that group to assist with the rest of the divisions, whether that's the HR assistants, IT assistants, facilities assistants, legal assistants, financial assistants, all of those categories. They act as a liaison to kind of build a bridge with all of our outfits. Next slide, please. As far as budget and staffing, our office had a budget of $16 million for 2024. We project about $14 million in revenue. That is predominantly staff. Our budget is 80% staff. That's 130 employees, 10 in our administrative division, 88 in our motor vehicle, 15 in elections, and 17 in records. Thank you. Next slide. And then the fun part, the upcoming projects. I'm sure everyone knows what is the most upcoming project. That is our 2024 presidential election. We also have the 2025 coordinated election next year. We also regularly do an ongoing public communication, transparency, education conversation with our community, continuous improvements to our access, to the way we share information, and all types of security, whether that be procedural, physical, and or cyber. With our motor vehicle group, we have some expansion projects when it comes to our phone bank, expanding new digital services similar to the assessor's office, looking at ways to leverage AI, things of that nature. Continue to reduce our turnaround time and our overtime. We want to keep pace also with the volume because we know that we are continuing to grow and financials are straight at the moment. So we're trying to find third-party vendors, whether that be our dealerships that we're partnering with in the legislative component, or it be future AI things to help us in the service front. We're always looking to partner. Then in our recording group, we are looking to enhance our digital search capabilities. So right now, if you were to go online, you would find 1966 to present. I think a couple of years ago was 1995 to present. We do plan very shortly to get to 1861 to present. So if you are a resident in Arapahoe County and you want to do some historical searching or just look for your own personal records, you would have access from 1861 on right through our portal. And then on the administrative side, kind of the cornerstone and backstone of our entire operation, this is where we look to improve our retention, expand our recruitment opportunities, expand the training and the growth of our employees, and fully implement the DEI office culture. Right now, we are also looking to expand our customer and employee safety awareness. So there's a lot of things going on in the Clerk and Recorder's office. Happy to answer any questions or have a conversation at any point in time. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. I'm, again, Michelle Halstead, the director of the Commissioner's Office, and I want to share a little bit about what we do as a department. We do support the Board of County Commissioners by coordinating weekly study sessions and regular business meetings. We also administer the Aid to Agencies nonprofit grant program, which really provides funding for safety nets that expand the reach of the services we provide throughout the county, as well as the countywide youth award program. We implement those board-appointed resident advisory committees and commissions. We also coordinate state and federal advocacy activities countywide. We collaborate with economic development partners across the county, facilitate the daily activities and commissioner initiatives, and we provide multi-jurisdictional and cross-departmental projects and initiatives. We're working with the board and organizational leadership on developing and implementing that strategic plan we spoke about earlier. And we really do support all offices and departments in their initiatives in a variety of ways. We do provide coordinated internal and external communication support for county departments and offices through assigned communication business partners to support their unique business needs. And we leverage a variety of communication tools to share information and foster that two-way engagement on county programs and services. The Communications Division implements the county's website and social media strategy and really deliver consistent media messaging through a dedicated public information officer. We also work with departments and offices to develop engagement plans that connect residents and stakeholders with the appropriate staff and elected officials. And finally, our Print and Distribution Management Division provides large and small printing services, as well as materials distribution throughout the county, which is a unique service we provide in-house. If we can go to the next slide, the Commissioner's Office budget is approximately $4 million for this year. We also manage that grant program at $2 million and the Board of County Commissioners budget at 1.3. We have 26 full-time employees, and that is spread across 3 divisions: administrative services, communication services, and distribution and print services. Like Carl, all of us have a variety of projects and initiatives we're focusing on. And as I mentioned, we support both county-wide initiatives as well as some internal and department-specific initiatives. The creation of the new single county 18th Judicial District is a significant project that affects multiple departments. Strategic plan implementation is another one that works across all organizations to really focus on that programmatic data and report out on outcomes and impacts. We're also doing grant program implementation and management. And we recently launched a new mobile-friendly website last year and a new intranet, which is really sharing and creating an internal information hub for our employees. And we're always looking to streamline business processes to improve accessibility and efficiency, which I know we do across the county. So now I'd like to turn over to Kathy Smith, our Director of Community Resources.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kathy Smith. I'm the Community Resources Director for Arapahoe County, and I am very happy to be here tonight to talk about the services that we provide in community resources. Next slide, please. So Community Resources is a really diverse and comprehensive department that offers a variety of supportive programs to strengthen our communities and provide resources to our most vulnerable residents. Our programs create opportunities, enhance our quality of life, and build a better community for some of our most vulnerable populations, which you see here. You can also see that there are really a wide array of programs and services that are delivered by Community Resources, and I'm going to talk briefly about each of those. Our community development, housing, and homeless services oversee our housing and urban development funding for the most part to ensure our community's response to public service needs, really putting those funds back into our community through our community partners. They also include services that we provide to our unhoused population, as well as the development and preservation of affordable housing. Our judicial services ensure that our public safety overall, while also providing some much needed supportive services to our justice involved population. So we have our pretrial services, which really address the needs and supervision of individuals while they are going through court proceedings. And our hope is, of course, to divert from incarceration during that time. We have our community corrections programs, which there are 3 within Arapahoe County that we oversee. And then we also have our community service program. We also provide our homemaker and chore services through Senior Resources. And those are programs that we provide to our low-income seniors or individuals with disabilities in order to really help to keep them living independently and safely in their homes. Our Veteran Service Office assists our veterans with filing claims with the Veterans Administration to provide them with much needed insurance, compensation, and even additional supportive services that they may need following their service to our country. Our weatherization program ensures that the homes of our low-income households are energy efficient while providing significant cost savings on heating and cooling, and really just overall major energy savings through the measures that we're putting into their homes, new furnaces, water heaters, and things like that. And last but certainly not least is our nationally recognized Workforce Center, Arapahoe Douglas Works. And through our Workforce Center, we assist our job seekers and businesses with filling the gaps in talent pipeline needs for our community. Next slide. So our department has a budget of around $47 million, and 90% of that is funded by various federal, state, local grants and allocations. And so that makes us a little different than some of the other departments within the county. So that means only 10% of our budget is coming from our county general fund. But with all of those grant funds, there are, of course, a variety of different oversight entities for each of these different programs with lots of different regulations to follow. So we, of course, need our finance and administrative services team, which was shown on that last slide, to help us monitor all of those different things. We have 250 employees throughout Community Resources who accomplish the great work of all of those programs. Because we're so heavily grant funded, we do have a variety of full-time employees in that 250 grant funded employees and some temporary employees. Next slide. So upcoming projects and initiatives, of course, mainly is just to make sure that we are continuing to be innovative and serve our public through all of our programs. But we have some things that we will continue to work on in the coming year. One of those is the completion of our one-time federal funding. We received some recovery funding through American Rescue Plan Act and the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, and that allocated millions of dollars to projects being overseen by Community Resources. So those projects will be finishing up and completing in the coming year to 2 years. And many of those projects are really providing funding for projects that really respond to the needs that we have for our unhoused community and our affordable housing needs as well. So those will be things we'll be finishing up and hoping to see the impacts of. Our Workforce Center was also recently awarded a large federal grant from the United States Department of Labor that will allow us to expand the services that we're providing to our local businesses to increase apprenticeships in our area. So we're really excited to begin work on that grant and expand in the area of apprenticeships. Our weatherization program has also seen a significant increase in funding for the program year, which will mean that we are weatherizing 170, actually more than 170 more homes in our community in the coming program year. So that is great, and we'll have a lot of outreach for that. And then mentioned in previous slides by others, our Judicial Services Division is also going to be working to ensure a smooth transition of the 18th Judicial District. I'm happy to, of course, answer any questions that you have for me on community resources at any point in time. Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. Next up is the coroner's office.
Thanks, Michelle. Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa Vantine, and I am the office administrator at the coroner's office. The coroner's office, next slide, please. The coroner's office is tasked by state statute with investigating all deaths occurring within the county and determining which deaths our office will take jurisdiction over and what deaths will be autopsied. We do also certify death certificates, do a lot of community outreach, investigate deaths that fall under traumatic, suspicious nature. So about 4,500 deaths are reported to our office a year. Out of those, we take jurisdiction where we actually do exams on about 1,000 to 1,200 of those. Next slide, please. Our annual budget is just over $3 million. We have 19 employees. We have 3 forensic pathologists, 11 medical investigators that man the county 24/7, and 4 autopsy technicians. On top of our daily tasks of investigating death, we do, like I said, do a lot of community outreach. We do a lot of teaching at schools. We're affiliated with many medical schools. We have residents, CSI students, a lot of different areas of forensics. And sorry, next slide. Recently, we obtained a Paul Coverdale grant through the DOJ to strengthen death certification due to emerging drug trends through improved toxicology. And that is one of the biggest novel opiates that we've been seeing is fentanyl, which first made its way illicitly in the community in 2014. Since then, we have seen it a significant rise in those accidental death overdoses. Also, we are currently working with IT on a Power BI dashboard for our website that the public can access to view statistics. We get a lot of requests through media, different citizens in whichever city they live in want to know, how many deaths are occurring in custody, how many suicides in our community, things like that. So we hope to have that up and running by the end of this year. Thank you for having me. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Next up is our county attorney's office. Ron?
Hi, everyone. I am Ron Carl, the county attorney. I've been with the county for about 28 years now. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the office. The county attorney's office is essentially a full service in-house law firm for the county. We have around 25 attorneys and around 50 plus staff overall. We handle almost all of the county's legal needs. For instance, we provide advice to the various officials and offices and departments. We assist with contracts and other legal documents and transactions. And we represent county officials and employees and departments if they get sued or if they need to sue someone. We have very experienced attorneys on our staff. They are all assigned to specific departments or offices or particular subject matter areas based on their expertise. And they're very knowledgeable and helpful. We very rarely send legal matters out to outside counsel because doing so is more expensive. When we do send matters out, it's usually because there's an ethical conflict of interest or because we need help in a very specialized area of the law. In addition to handling the county's legal matters, we also have a risk management division, and that division is involved in procuring and managing our insurance program. We are basically self-insured for the first $500,000 on most matters, but then we have a fair amount of insurance that covers things above that. And the risk management division also manages our workers' comp program and certain training to prevent accidents and things of that like that can result in liability. We also, the county attorney's office also runs the tax appeal process, the yearly tax appeal process for the Board of County Commissioners. So that, in a nutshell, is the county attorney's office and what we do. And I look forward to any questions that you may have at the end.
Great. Thank you, Ron. The next department we have is facilities and fleet management. We work through and provide services to the county in 4 specific areas. It's really an internal facing department. We have an administrative division, which manages pool cars, invoice processing. We have a county warehouse where we store records and meet retention requirements. We have a project management group, which really provides contract management, project estimates for all new construction, remodels, furniture, special projects. We also coordinate audiovisual and security access control needs across the county. And while we don't have a lot of large projects in the county at this time, we do have a lot of our work is focused on maintaining the assets we have given constraints. The next 2 divisions that we operate out of are on the next slide, is facility operations. We have 34 buildings in the county, so we're making sure that we're taking care of about 1.2 million square feet of facilities. So whether that's custodial services, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, the parking lots, grounds work, we're taking care of that on a daily basis and 24/7. We also have a fleet services division. We have 1,300 vehicles or pieces of equipment in our fleet. And so we do a lot of servicing and repair, including the DA's office, our weatherization department, the sheriff's office, and we do provide fueling resources for South Metro Fire Rescue. The work that we do, if you go to the next slide, is done with about 110 full-time employees. We have a budget of nearly 20 million, which is spread across several funds. The general fund, we have a building maintenance fund, which takes care of maintenance and repair projects. And then we have a capital improvement project fund that we do several projects with as well. When we look at what's upcoming for the facilities and fleet division, we do have some much needed one-time projects to, again, address some long-standing needs. The first of which is constructing and remodeling a new courtroom at Courthouse 2 because we are out of space and we need more facilities to support the criminal justice system. We've also looked at how to best consolidate space throughout the county and try to leverage existing resources. So we're implementing some projects to get out of leased space and put folks where it makes more sense to provide our residents county services. We're also looking at roof unit replacements or rooftop replacements that, again, these assets have reached their useful service life, and so we really do need to replace those. And then we're doing supporting election security work with the warehouse and our elections facility by providing a generator. So we always have coverage on site. And we're doing some remodel work at the fairgrounds to address soil issues and space constraints. I'd also mention before I go to finance that one of the large projects that we do was leveraging one-time federal funds from the American Rescue Plan Act to expand the medical facility and provide much needed laundry and food service kitchen facilities for the detention center. And I'm sure the sheriff's office will talk about that, but that's a project we're working on jointly. So Todd, finance.
Thanks, Michelle. Once again, Todd Weaver, I'm the finance director at the county. Let me tell you a little bit about the finance department. Our primary function is to provide accurate, timely, and useful financial information, services, and support to not only the Board of County Commissioners, but also to all the county departments and elected offices, and to the general public, as well as the financial community as efficiently and as effectively as possible. Next slide, please. We're made up of 5 different divisions in the finance department. Our accounting division covers accounting. That's our day-to-day financial transactions, journal entries, grant compliance, grant reporting, and preparing the annual financial statements, accounts payable and receivable, payroll for the entire county, and then sales tax analysis on behalf of the open space department as well as the county as a whole. We have a budget division. That's pretty self-explanatory, budget preparation and control. They also assist with debt management, and on behalf of the county and the county commissioners, they also accumulate at the end of the year all of the mill levy certifications for the 450 plus special taxing authorities within Arapahoe County and get those approved by the board and sent to the state so that we can collect and distribute property tax. Purchasing division, procurement, they provide that support to the departments and elected offices. They also assist with vendor relations when there are hiccups in procurement or purchasing functions. The SAP Business Operations Division, that's a function of the finance department that supports our enterprise resource planning software system. Our financial system is SAP. They make sure that all the financial transactions and dollars flow through that system smoothly and efficiently. They provide training for users across the departments and elected offices, as well as user procedures on how to execute those financial transactions accurately. And then last but not least is our administration division, which includes me, but also includes the performance management and process improvement position that was moved over to finance at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. Next slide, please. Our annual budget is $4.6 million, of which 92% of that is for salaries and benefits of the 32 full-time employees of the finance department. Very little of our budget is non-personnel related, and the cost of the county's annual financial audit, it's about $180,000, makes up about half of the remainder of that non-personnel part of that budget. Next slide, please. Our major projects ongoing, obviously the annual processes of developing the budget alongside the Board of County Commissioners and our Executive Budget Committee is an important function, as well as the accounting side as developing the annual comprehensive financial report and the single audit of federal funds that goes along with that. Financial reporting and compliance for federal ARPA, ERA funding, and all the other federal money we get is a very important aspect of what we do in finance. Obviously, it escalated quite a bit over the past few years since the pandemic, as a lot of money has flowed from the federal government to the county to help with recovery from the pandemic, as well as that emergency rental assistance. We also assist in implementing the BOC's strategic direction when it comes to financial sustainability and resiliency within our budget, our accounting, and our financial practices. For new and upcoming, looks like those 2 bullet points didn't get updated, but we are in the process of implementing and continue to assist with the transition of the 18th Judicial District Attorney's Office from a shared District Attorney's Office into a single County District Attorney's Office. We're also updating and modernizing the financial policy manual and financial procedures, and we're also working to improve countywide grant reporting and compliance, as that's become a more important issue for the county as we've received more money from not only the state of Colorado, but as I referenced earlier, federal grant monies following the pandemic and other great opportunities that we've taken advantage of. Next slide. I guess I've been selected to talk about the District Attorney's Office, so let me take a moment to talk about that. The function of the DA's office is to seek justice by exercising its prosecutorial discretion in cases involving violations of Colorado's criminal laws committed by adults and juveniles. The current office is committed to advocating for victims' rights and promoting public safety. And the objective of the district attorney's office is to seek justice and be a driving force for initiatives and preventative programs that work to reduce crime, protect victims, and enhance the lives of district residents. Next slide. For 2024, when we were still part of a shared judicial district attorney's office, Arapahoe County's share of that budget based on population was $19.2 million. Once again, similar to finance, the DA's office is budget is mainly comprised of the salaries and benefits of those prosecutors, investigators, victim assistance personnel, juvenile diversion personnel, and office staff that provide those functions to the residents of the 18th Judicial District. So about 93% of their budget is personnel. And when you sort of prorate the total employees of the DA's office as part of the shared district, approximately 160 positions were allocated to Arapahoe County. That obviously changes as part of a shared judicial district. Those resources can be moved around within that shared judicial district as the DA sees fit. Going forward in 2025, obviously as a single county district attorney's office, the budget and the staffing will look a bit different. So those are the two departments I'm covering for this evening. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, Todd. I believe our next department is Human Resources. Patrick?
Thanks, Michelle. My name is Patrick Hernandez, and I just celebrated 15 wonderful years with the county, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we do. So basically, our focus really is on to be more of a strategic business partner with all the departments and offices by developing and implementing initiatives that support the county and its employees. We have a very, very intense focus really on being risk averse. So any area that requires legal assistance, we partner with the county attorney's office on a consistent ongoing basis. Next slide, please. Our budget and staffing, our annual budget is $3.9 million, of which 2/3 are salaries and benefits. So we left that out, but benefits are included, and the operating expenses, of course. We have 28 full-time county staff, 2 of which we'll lose this year because they're part of the ARPA grant, and 2 of those are work and paid for by the retirement board. And they are part of our 401A defined benefit plan, which is 9% required amount every paycheck, and you are fully funded at the end of 8 years. We also have a 457 plan, which is totally voluntary, which has grown significantly over the last 10 years. Of those full-time employees, we have areas of focus of compensation, benefits and wellness, training and education,
Patrick, we lost your mic. We missed your words of wisdom.
All right, so I flipped to one and lost the other. My apologies. So employee relations, recruiting, training, and education, and we also run a couple high potential programs. So those are the focus groups we have in HR. Next slide, please. Our current and upcoming projects, you've heard the county attorney, you've heard finance, and by the way, IT is also involved. All the support organizations have a heavy emphasis this year on making sure the 18th judicial transition is very smooth. In fact, HR, I know the other ones are too. We have a group that works with in HR that works with a group from the 18th Judicial. And by the way, we have also worked with Douglas County. And we work on transitioning the salary grades and so forth to be competitive in the marketplace. We also have done quite a few benefits overviews, and we'll continue to do benefit education programs. We're responsible for helping posting, position descriptions, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, then the onboarding process itself. So it's quite a bit of time for the HR group and all the other support organizations. Sorry for the HCM. HCM stands for Human Capital Management. And what that is, we'll be starting, hopefully working on that at the end of this year. which will systematize a lot of areas such as performance management, compensation, benefits, and wellness. And it is really not an HR, okay, even though we're responsible for maintenance and so forth on it. And but it is a enterprise-wide system that will benefit employees, managers, okay, and so forth, and HR. More to come on that next year. In 2023, we started a DEI, Diversity, Equity, Inclusivity program. We are continuing to work on phase 1, which is really educating people on what DEI really means. So those are the programs that we're working on last year and continue to work on this year. Next year, we have phase 2 and 3, which are task force and a number of other steps that we have committed to the employees and the commissioners to do. We are in the beginning stages, obviously, of collective bargaining. So we do have a representative, and Dusty Sash from compensation in there, and that is comprised of the attorney's office, HR, and so forth. And then the ADA process, we're continuing to refine the complaint process and resolution process, and looking at a number of other things. We want to make sure it's more clear to our internal employees and to external groups. Those are a very quick update. And if there's any questions that you have, feel free to ask me now or later. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Patrick. We're going to hold questions till the end, but we're going to go on to human services. Cheryl, I'm sorry, you're muted.
Oh,
It's
that's
okay.
bad. That's so bad.
Take 2.
Yeah, sorry about that, everyone. Cheryl Turnus, Human Services Director. All right, our function is to build strong communities by promoting the safety, independence, and stability of individuals and families. We strive to end generational poverty and prevent abuse and neglect of children and vulnerable adults. We do this using a 2-generation approach, which provides opportunities for both the children and their parents, working to meet their needs, and also the needs of vulnerable adults and their caregivers, so that we can help them to ensure economic stability and overall well-being. Next slide. So 99.9% of our programs are mandated by the federal or state government. Our core services are to provide public assistance, food assistance, financial and medical benefits, child care assistance, heat and energy assistance, child support services. We also provide child and adult protection services and foster care and adoption. To give you an idea of our overall caseload, for example, in public assistance, we average right now around 138,000 cases. Our largest programs are food assistance and Medicaid, with food assistance at around 33,000 and Medicaid around 75,000. In our child and family services division, we receive over 27,000 calls annually to our hotline, folks who are reporting child and adult abuse and neglect. Out of those calls to the hotline, those generate around 13,800 child protection referrals and 3,200 adult protection referrals. On any given day, there are approximately 3,000 children or 1,300 families with open cases or assessments, and around 138 at-risk adults with open cases. 430 children were served in foster care in 2023, or group or congregate care. 529 were served in relative care, and we were successful at getting 65 children and youth adopted into permanent homes. Next slide. So our budget and staffing, we're at around 91 million in 2022. We receive around 80 to 84% federal and state funding to operate those mandated programs, and the remainder is matched with our county property tax assigned to human services. Right now, we have around 708 full-time employees. Next slide. We have additional services that we provide to support the adults and families that we serve. We have a family resource navigation unit, which works to connect families to supports in the community. We have a temporary emergency food assistance program, which basically means we're able to provide non-perishable food on site for those individuals and families that are unable to get food assistance immediately if they're in immediate need of food. We have several classes and workshops that we offer, including fatherhood engagement, a father's voice support group, motherhood classes, relationship skills, parenting skills, legal clinics. We also offer support for those grandparents who become guardians of their grandchildren. We also are very proud of the mandated reporter training that we do in the community, assisting those who are mandated to report to recognize child abuse and neglect and know how to report it to us. We also have a robust community development and prevention unit in our Child and Adult Protection Services Division, and they provide services to families that don't quite meet the risk level to be involved in our child protection or adult protection system, and we're able to provide them with supports to help them avoid having to be involved in our system. We also have partnered with a local nonprofit, Family Tree, to operate the GOALS program, which GOALS stands for Generational Opportunities to Achieve Long-Term Success. And it supports families, homeless families, by providing them residential accommodations for up to 9 months, along with various on-site supports to help them eliminate those barriers and become self-sufficient and achieve safe and stable housing. Next. And that's it for Human Services. Happy to answer any questions at the end of the session. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Cheryl. And now we're going to go to our Information Technology Department.
Okay,
Phil?
thank you. Thank you. My name is Hope Savino. I'm the Director of Technology for Arapahoe County. I've been with the county for 3 years. Next slide, please. So one of our main functions, or our function, is to promote innovation throughout the county and provide technology-forward solutions and to support the county in their technology initiatives. We're responsible for the centralized of information technology. That includes analysis services, data, project management, infrastructure, systems, and customer assistance through the service desk and applications. Next slide, please. Our budget and staffing, we have roughly around 19 million in annual budget. Largely, that's mostly salaries and benefits, and another portion of that is also software and hardware maintenance. Out of that salary and benefits, we have a total of about 84 employees, 4 that are allocated to the 4 divisions that we have, which is admin, 26 to business applications and infrastructure, 35, and business relationship, 19. Business applications are that encompasses the oversight and management of basically opening up your computer and accessing anything that is software based. So that division primarily focuses on GIS, SAP, ERP systems, soon to be HCM, as Director Hernandez talked about. Infrastructure is anything such as a computer or network or connectivity across the county. So from the time you come in and flip the computer on and power it up and begin your work for the day, to wireless and so on and so forth, data storage. And business relationship is really encompasses of project management, We have technical liaisons for every department. We meet with your department once a month, maybe more times than that, and we go through your technology initiatives. So we're considered essential services, and we're here to, basically enable the businesses to do what they need to do to serve the residents by means of giving them technology as a tool. Next slide, please. So we have a lot of projects in the bucket. This is some of the main ones. One here that is not mentioned, I'll talk about a little bit towards the end, is our HS Connects program. But obviously the 18th transition is one of the highest priorities in which we're doing right now. And we're reaching out to the 18th district and working with them on transitioning their technology into Arapahoe County. That has been an ongoing project for the better part of a year and a half, and it's starting to ramp up considerably. Human capital management, Director Hernandez talked a little about that. We're involved there. That is a program that does a lot of centralizing a lot of the functions that HR do, from performance management to timekeeping, so on and so forth. Another major initiative that we're working with is the assessor and treasurer software. That is the program in which they do assessments and also receive revenue into the county by means of that program. We've just kicked off that project to modernize that as well. The fiber connectivity has been a 3-year ongoing project where we're partnering with Littleton and Centennial to get fiber connectivity to all of our sites throughout the county. And then we're using ARPA dollars to fund that. Cloud migration, we kicked off about 2 years ago. That's modernizing our infrastructure, looking ahead forward to the county and trying to prepare the county's server and computer infrastructure for the future, giving it optimization, scalability, business continuity, and basically preparing the county for what's to come down the road. We've just completed a SharePoint intranet project that redid our intranet using SharePoint. And the next step of phase of that is to get off of traditional file shares and get into that more cloud-centric file repository by way of using the product of SharePoint. Data governance and data sharing is also an initiative that we've taken on in the last 2.5 years, where we've actually built a data team. This was spurred by the onboarding of a public health department, realizing that we needed to dedicate a team to data and understanding, or focusing more on data governance, standardization, and security around data, as well as digital services, which supply services to the county departments and offices to help them through the digital transformation process, educating about how better ways we can provide services through a digital government experience. Next slide. And then thank you. If you have any questions, please let me know at the end of the presentation. Back to you, Michelle.
Thanks so much, Phil. I'd now like to turn over to our Open Spaces Director.
Thanks, Michelle. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jenny Pingino, and I'm the Director of Open Spaces. Next slide. The function of the Open Space Program and Department is to preserve natural and heritage areas. We are celebrating 20 years, rather, of existence, and we owe our presence to the generosity of voters who approved a dedicated sales tax for our purpose and our work back in 2003. Since that time, we have built more than 78 miles of new trails, supported more than 190 parks and trailhead projects, and conserved more than 32,000 acres of open space. We do so much of our work in partnership with our municipalities and recreation districts. They are key partners in what all we've been able to accomplish. And so collaboration and partnership is at the essence of what the Open Space Program does. I did mention that we received approval for a sales tax from voters. It is the only sales tax that the county has in place. It's 0.25%, so that's 25 cents for every $100 spent. So unlike the departments that have come before me that are very reliant on property taxes,
Our program is solely reliant on that voter-approved sales tax. Next slide, please. Our annual budget is about 45 million, and we have 40 full-time employees. Pursuant to our voter-approved sales tax and mission, the distribution of this 45 million, roughly 62% of it goes straight out to municipalities and recreational districts. So that's about 28 million of the 45, which leaves 17 million or 38% available for unincorporated Arapahoe County projects. So it's just always important to right size that 45 million amount based on the directions we received from voters on our program. Next slide. Some of our upcoming projects include a master plan implementation. We are the stewards of a fair amount of property in the county. And when we do find ourselves in that role, we go straight out to the public and ask them, how would you like us to take care of and make the space open to the public? Are those just walking trails? Is it an equestrian challenge course? What would you all, the surrounding community, like to see? So that's a really important step for us. It's how we make sure that we are matched up with the needs of the community. So we do this master plan process for all of our properties. Some of our current parks, trails, and open space projects. Dove Valley Regional Park is just about to have its ribbon cutting in early October. That was an $18 million investment and a source of tremendous pride for the county. Will offer a lot of recreational opportunities, which is sort of new for the county because typically we have that more passive open space experience that we've provided the community. And then, like I mentioned earlier, we do so much of our work through partnerships and leveraging other municipalities' funding that they may have for parks and open space. So we kind of use the funds we have to really incentivize others to contribute. And we do that through working groups and grants and joint projects. Next slide. Another kind of way that we generate goodwill among the community and for the county in totality is we do provide community events. Many of these started during COVID when we couldn't offer our annual fair event, and we were still searching for ways to connect with the community. And so some of these are on the horizon. Treat Street is just around the corner, and so too is our 5K trail run. And then final kind of thing that the program does is we partner with CSU to provide extension services. So if you're familiar with 4-H clubs, master gardening programs, cottage food trainings, those are the kinds of things that CSU equips us to offer, and financially we support them and they support us in rolling these kinds of programs and opportunities out to Arapahoe County citizens. I think that does it for me.
Thanks so much, Jenny. Next up is public health, which is our newest department that was created as a result of a split. So I'm going to turn that over to Jennifer Ludwig.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Good evening, Jennifer Ludwig, Public Health Director. Next slide. As Michelle said, we are new. We opened as a single county health department last January, and it has been an exciting 20 months and a very successful 20 months. So public health, we focus on the health and well-being of the entire community as opposed to individuals. We protect and promote equity, health, and well-being through evidence-based interventions, education, advocacy, and policy development. We look at our programs as preventing disease, promoting health, and protecting the environment. Next slide. We are organized in 5 operating divisions. Our first and largest is community health nursing, which has multiple clinical programs as well as connecting the healthcare systems. Our nutrition division connects families to much needed healthy and affordable food resources. And our health protection and response includes our environmental health programs that ensure the safety of our food, air, and water. In addition, it houses our communicable disease epidemiology program that investigates diseases, infectious diseases, and outbreaks. Since our opening, we have investigated over 1,000 outbreaks and have conducted almost 5,000 environmental health inspections. We've provided more than 14,000 child and adult vaccinations. And on average, we serve over 11,000 families every month on our WIC program. Next slide. Our Partnerships Planning and Community Health Promotion Division is kind of our fruit basket in public health. It does a lot of things, including community engagement, health equity, all of our planning, performance management, and then a variety of community health promotion programs, as well as our data and informatics. They are responsible for overseeing the statutory required community health assessment and community health improvement plan, which I'll talk about at the end. In finance and administration, they manage all of our grants, all of our accounting, finance, and they also administer birth and death certificates. Since we have opened since last January, we have issued over 63,000 birth and death certificates. Next slide. We are approved for 200 full-time equivalent. We currently have 188 full-time employees and 16 part-time employees. By division, as I mentioned, the community health nursing division is the largest at 92. Next slide. Our 2024 budget is at $24 million. We have 44 unique funding streams. The majority of our revenue, similar to community resources, is grants, contracts, and fees. So that makes 70% of our revenue. The remaining 30% comes from county funds. Next slide. As I mentioned, our Community Health Improvement Plan is a state requirement, part of the Public Health Act of 2008. This will be the first Community Health Improvement Plan as a single county health department for Arapahoe County. And we're very excited about the process that we have gone through in working with our Board of Health, as well as our community, to narrow down to these top 2 priorities of the plan that we will be working on over the next 5 years. The first is economic security and mobility, which aligns very nicely with the Commissioner's priority. And that includes access to affordable physical and behavioral health care, access to nutritious and affordable food, and then access to safe and affordable housing. And then in the area of safety, we are looking at social connection and specifically social isolation and helping communities be connected. And then community safety, because we know more connected communities are safer communities. So we look forward to finalizing this plan over the next couple of months. Our Board of Health will be adopting this plan in November and will begin implementation in January of 2025. And it will run for 5 years when we repeat the entire process again. So thank you very much. And I look forward to answering any questions you may have about public health.
Thanks, Jennifer. Our next department is Public Works and Development. So I'll turn it over to Brian Weimer.
Thank you, Michelle. As Michelle indicated, I'm Brian Weimer. I have been with the county.
Brian, we don't have sound on you. Can we?
Oh my God.
I see you're unmuted, but maybe there's like a setting.
Well, let's see. Can you hear me now? No.
No.
Oh,
Nope.
I hear Brian.
yeah.
Oh.
Michelle, it might be it might be your setting instead of Brian's.
Well, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now? Can anybody hear me? All right.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So as was mentioned, I'm Brian Weimer. I'm working on my 41st year here at Arapahoe County. Next slide. We are a department that really impacts everybody on a day-to-day basis. Let it be the house you live in, the building you work in, the choice of mobility, and or the natural or built environment. That's what we provide. And so those are the type of things that we do. We are broken up into 6 divisions, 3 of which are land development related, 2 of which are infrastructure related, and we have a support services. So I'll go through those. Next slide. So the building division is everything that goes vertical in the county. That is part of our land development group. They are the last group that touches a land development type project. We do plan review out of that, building inspection, and building permitting. The planning division is one of the first divisions, and it has both current planning as well as long-range planning included in it. There is also a zoning code enforcement division. There is energy oversight, and that includes oil and gas as well as solar. We have animal services in that group, as well as noxious weed control. So they're the group that really begins the land development process. Next slide. Then our engineering services division is the engineering side of land development. They look through an infrastructure development review associated with development. They do permitting and inspection of the new infrastructure that we get as part of new development. They do right-of-way permitting, so utilities that are putting lines and that sort of thing within our right-of-way, they handle that. There is stormwater and floodplain management is out of that group. We have an environmental program manager, and our MS4 permit is in that group. They do oil and gas review from an engineering perspective, and then we have rural engineering standards. So that is that side. That's the last group associated with land development. Now, moving on to infrastructure, we have a group that is responsible for maintenance, and that is our road and bridge division. So any of our infrastructure, let it be pavement, let it be concrete, let it be gravel roads, bridges, anything within the right-of-way is our responsibility within road and bridge. They also do snow plowing and snow and ice management. They are responsible for signs and markings, and they as well do sweeping, along with a lot of other tasks. Next slide, please. Also with infrastructure is our transportation division. And what's included in that is our CIP project design, construction, and project delivery group. We have a transportation planning group that plans out what is needed for the county from a transportation perspective. Also looking at how the system operates. And so that's our traffic signal control and maintenance group, as well as looking after our fiber that we have. We also have intelligent transportation systems. All of that is out of our transportation or traffic operations program. Neighborhood traffic program for traffic calming and dealing with issues within neighborhoods. And then obviously we need a support services division. That is our, they handle our finance and budget, IT application support, records management, land surveying. We have a mapping and GIS group in that area, and they handle performance management and our own performance improvement or process improvement process. Along with that is our strategic planning effort that we go through on an annual basis. Next slide, please. Public Works is the only county agency that is accredited by the American Public Works Association in Colorado. We were the 137th accredited agency in North America, so pretty unique. We are funded out of 3 funds. We have a road and bridge mill levy, which is roughly about 19.6 million this year. We have a general fund portion, which is around 11.6 million. And then finally, a capital improvement program, which ranges between 5 and 6 million. That's what makes up our 37, almost $38 million. We have 141 employees, and we have 3 locations. We have a Lima Plaza, which is primarily where our general fund folks are located. Road and Bridge then has 2 service areas, Peoria service area, which is by the airport, and then the Eastern Service Center, which is by Bennett. Next slide, please. On an annual basis, we put together an annual report that summarizes what we have accomplished the year before. Along with that is a scorecard of our infrastructure. So if you want to find out more about where we stand, where our infrastructure stands, you can look that up. It's on our website. But our current projects right now that we're working up, we're in the process of finalizing a county water study and new landscape regulations looking at sustainability associated with that. The water study will be going out for public comment in October. So look forward to that if you're interested in looking at it. We're kicking off a couple of sub-area plans in the 4 square mile and the Byers sub-region areas. We're also doing a lot of land use code updates and regulations. Those are associated with affordable housing, short-term rentals, signage, parking requirements, our cell phone towers and updates, natural medicine and Prop 122, as well as our oil and gas phase 2 regulations, which we had a public meeting earlier this week. We've migrated our primary management and permitting system to the cloud. Thank you to IT and my staff working on things. And then in terms of the annual maintenance program, we're in the process of completing about 60 lane miles of overlays. That represents about 46,000 tons of asphalt being placed. We're replacing around 900 signs and doing about 10 centerline miles of rotopave on gravel roadways. In terms of our capital projects, you can see projects going on around the Dry Creek area. So we have Dry Creek operational improvements between I-25 and Inverness Drive East. A lane diet on Inverness Drive West, providing additional bike lanes and safety and roundabouts on that road. We'll be going out to bid within 30 days on Arapahoe and Buckley turn lanes and a Tempe roundabout. And we're also working on a few studies, those studies being an I-70 Monaghan interchange, transit and micromobility study, and then a fiber master plan study, those last 2 being countywide. So that's, in a nutshell, what Public Works is doing, and certainly happy to answer any questions. Thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for everyone who is so quick on typing in the chat that you can keep us honest. So thank you for that. Next up, we have the Sheriff's Office. Chief?
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Jared Rollison, and I get to be the Bureau Chief at the detention facility. And I'll talk about the detention facility in a few moments. So good evening to everybody, and Sheriff Brown sends his best to the group this evening. At the Sheriff's Office, we are committed to quality service with an emphasis on integrity, professionalism, and community spirit. That's our mission, and we do it every day, do our best every day to live into that. The Sheriff's Office was founded in 1858 with the appointment of our very first sheriff, Ned Wincoop. Familiar name if you've been downtown ever. At that point, this part of the world was part of Arapahoe County in the Kansas Territory. We provide law enforcement, specialized units, communications, and emergency management services for all of the unincorporated parts of the county, along with contract cities, the contract municipalities that we work with, as well as general assistance every now and then, depending on circumstances, to surrounding law enforcement agencies as well. Another big piece of what we do is we provide the county jail for not only the sheriff's office, but also all the municipal police departments in Arapahoe County for people who have been taken into custody. Next slide, please. The sheriff's office is broken up into 3 different bureaus. A lot of places use a division term. We use bureau. It's a similar philosophy. Each of the bureaus is led by a chief, and I'm, like I said, I get to be the detention services chief. You'll see on the slide there how we've got it broken out. In the jail, our booking function is the heartbeat of what we do. All but 100%, nearly 100%, excuse me, nearly 100% of the people who come and go from the jail go through our booking area. It's a very busy part of the facility, and we will see 16,000 people come in and also go out from that part of the building every year. Before the pandemic, we were close to 18,000, actually a little more than 18,000. But here in the last year or two, we've leveled off in the 16,000s. A lot of work for our folks. Most people who arrive do not bond out right away or within a day. And so we'll move them down to one of our housing units. And we refer to those housing units as pods. In the jail, there are 6 different pods, 4 of which were built with the initial initial project back in the mid 80s. It was opened in 86, 87. In the early 2000s, we added on 2 additional pods. So we have 6 total. The 4 original are very, very much different than the newer ones. If ever anybody's interested to come and take a look, we would be happy to host folks to provide a tour. We have to take care of the people who are here, and that means a whole lot of different things. We have to provide medical care. It's the county's biggest contract. We contract out that work to a provider, and it's a lot of work. The folks that come into our facility are not always in the greatest of health, and that's a big, important piece of what we do. We have to feed everybody 3 times a day. We have to provide clean clothing and bed linens once a week for folks as well. We have a building that was, like I said, built in the mid 80s. There's a lot of maintenance that goes into taking care of our building for sure. Our bureau also gets to be responsible for courthouse security as well. So we have the 2 courthouses here on campus, Courthouse 1 and 2. And so our court services deputies are responsible for making sure that, first of all, the building is secure. We have people that are screened going in and going out. We contract out some of that work. But our court services deputies are responsible for making sure things go well in the courtrooms as far as security and safety of everybody who's there. The court services deputies will move sometimes up to 200 people back and forth from the jail to the courthouses. They do it every day that the courts are open. It's a big lift for everybody, but that's a critical piece to making sure the court process continues in a timely way. Those folks in court services are also responsible for transporting people, not only to court, but also to other jails and sometimes the Department of Corrections at the state level as well. So if somebody has been arrested on an Arapahoe County warrant, say in Grand Junction, we have to work with the folks in Mesa County to get that person back over here. It could be one of our deputies going over there, or if Mesa has to come over here, we work together with them to get that figured out. Whole lots happens in our bureau. It's about half of our budget and about half of our staff as well in the Detention Services Bureau. My colleagues over in the Public Safety Bureau, where I've spent a bunch of my career as well, have a lot of responsibilities as well. They're the more public-facing piece of the sheriff's office. Our patrol folks our patrol services folks take care of patrolling the areas of unincorporated Arapahoe County, along with Centennial and a couple of other smaller municipalities as well. Special operations also is part of patrol or public safety, excuse me. And that's where we have a lot of our specialized units. Didn't have a lot of space on the slide, so I've condensed it to a couple of the higher profile things. Our traffic safety units are the folks that are out there making sure folks are driving well, and they also investigate crashes. Our SWAT team are the folks that handle high-risk things out in the community. Our school resource officers are assigned to all of the public schools in our service areas. So that includes not only Littleton and Cherry Creek schools, but also the school districts out in our Eastern District as well. Our bomb squad is also part of special operations. It's the one and only bomb squad in Arapahoe County. So if the city of Aurora has some sort of incident involving a suspected bomb or device of some sort, the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office bomb squad is going to be the one that will respond and assist Aurora Police Department with that. Also, importantly, under there, didn't make it onto the slide, is our emergency management function. Those folks are the people that will plan for the worst days of our lives, be it a natural disaster, be it some sort of other major incident that not only we as the Sheriff's Office, but we as a county have to, first of all, plan for, respond to, and then in the aftermath, clean up as well. So the emergency management folks do a lot of that work. Also didn't make it onto the slide there, but I need to recognize our investigation services folks. Those are the folks that are essentially the detectives of our organization. They'll investigate crimes that our patrol folks can't solve right away while they're on duty. We also have a number of specialized units there to include internet crimes against children, some major cases, and so on. Our crime lab happens to fall under investigation services, along with our victim advocates. So lots, of course, going on with public safety as well. Our third bureau is the Support Services Bureau. And so those folks include our 911 dispatchers. They take 911 calls from throughout our public safety service areas, as well as a couple of cities that we contract with, such as Cherry Hills Village, City of Sheridan as well. They'll take 911 calls from those cities, even though they have their own police department. Our communications staff will also do the radio dispatching for all of us here at the Sheriff's Office, well, all public safety and support services at the Sheriff's Office, along with the contracted municipalities as well. Importantly, in support services is our accreditation unit. The Sheriff's Office is incredibly proud of our commitment to accreditation. Brian spoke of Public Works' attention to accreditation, and we share a similar mindset. We are accredited on a number of different levels, but three stand out for us. First of all, we have CALIA, which is our public safety accreditation. Second is ACA, or the American Correctional Association. That's our general jails accreditation. And then third is called the NCCHC. It's a long acronym for our accrediting organization that comes in and takes a look at our jail healthcare component. Those three are the major accreditations that a sheriff's office can have, and we are incredibly proud to have maintained those accreditations over the course of 4 administrations now. From everything we have learned, and we've asked a lot of people, we are the one and only organization in the United States that has maintained those 3 accreditations, which are also known as the Triple Crown of Accreditation in law enforcement, under 4 administrations. That just tells everyone involved, not only our organization, but also the broader Arapahoe County, along with the community as well, that we are absolutely committed to working at the highest of standards and not only meeting best practices, but exceeding them as well. Our internal affairs function is under support services. Those are the folks that investigate major complaints against staff. They also deal with and work through a lot of our high risk reporting pieces that we have to do as far as uses of force, vehicle incidents, and civil litigation that comes our way as well. Our training unit is also in support services. We have a lot of people that we need to keep trained to maintain certifications and doing what we do at the high level we do. Our civil and warrants unit is also there. Those are the folks that will be taking in and then going out to serve civil process for the courts. Well, for people who are involved in civil cases through the court process. The warrants folks manage warrants that come from the courts. The sheriff's office is responsible for ensuring those are gotten into, or that are entered. The warrants are entered into the the state and national system accurately, and then confirming warrants once somebody is found as well. Our record section is also part of support services. Those folks deal with all records throughout the organization, from patrol reports to jail booking records to any number of other pieces as well. I've left out a lot of pieces to the sheriff's office, but those are some of the really, really important ones, and there's others out there as well. So if I could hit the next slide, please. We are the largest office or department in the county, and thus we have the largest budget as well. It is around $130,000 or $130 million plus. We also have nearly 840 staff members. It's important for us to break that out to sworn and civilian, or sometimes we refer to them as professional staff as well. The sworn staff are the deputies that are out on the road day to day, the investigators, also the deputies that are here in the jail day in and day out and in the courthouses. It takes a lot of us to do the work we do. Our civilian or professional staff are those often unsung heroes behind the scenes that are doing so much of the work to support the rest of the organization and the county as well. So we have nearly 267 of those folks as well. So next, please. We have a number of things going on. Somebody mentioned earlier about our jail medical expansion that we're working on, and with that goes hand in hand with the second item of jail replacement. Our building is in need of being replaced. It is well used. We have a number of infrastructure problems throughout the building. It is outgrown its functionality in many different ways. It was right for mid-'80s. It is challenging to operate the same building with a 21st century mindset with how we need to do things. We can go on and on about that, but that tails into our current project that we have ongoing right now of a medical expansion. A couple of years ago, we started working across the county to identify one item that is just going to really have a significant impact on the next 6 to 8 years of keeping our building going. And the piece that we identified was we need to do better and more with our medical care that we provide here. It's a complex project, but nonetheless, what it boils down to is we needed to expand our medical area into what is currently our kitchen and laundry, which has meant we needed to build a right-sized kitchen and laundry for where we are today in 2024. That part is going to be complete close to the end of the year. Then we're going to be expanding our medical area there. Lots to go into that, and I'm sorry it's taken as long as I am to get through all these. One of the other things that we give a lot of attention to is continuing to make sure that we hire enough people to get back to full staffing. For us in law enforcement and policing across the board throughout the nation, this has been a challenge, to put it lightly, in the past 4 years and perhaps even a little longer, 5 to 6 years. We at Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office are making significant progress towards that compared to a lot of our other partners, but we're a little ways off. It takes us a long time to get people hired on and trained and into their roles. So that's one thing that we continue to focus on. Long-term funding for our public safety services, as well as equipment, and what we do at the detention facility as well. Big deal for us that we continue to work on day in and day out. Also, for everybody, including us, everybody at Arapahoe County, including us at the Sheriff's Office, continued growth due to population increases, as well as crime that ebbs and flows throughout time. So there we are. My apologies for being so long-winded. There's a lot that we do here, but be happy to take some questions if they come up along the way.
Thank you, Jared. And last, but certainly not least, our treasurer, Westerberg, will talk about his office.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Treasurer's office is last but not least. Certainly not least in my book. So I think I'm the only thing that's standing between us and this meeting ending. So I won't be crazy long, I promise. So really, what does the Treasurer's office do? We really work with kind of the entire county. You heard it a lot with what finance actually does too. We tend to work hand in hand. It's slightly different, but yeah, two arms of doing the same thing. We touch everything. I like to kind of say the Arapahoe County, what do they actually do? They're the glue that kind of holds everything else together in the county. And the money people, let's say finance and treasurer, is kind of also what does that within the county. We are the collection agent for the county. We also distribute said tax dollars. You'll notice my first bullet point is a tiny bit off because it says 495 taxing districts. I think we heard at the top of the hour, I think Michelle's slide had a 513 number. The cool part about Arapahoe County is we're growing so fast, every time I turn around and look that number up, it grows. So 495, I think, was at the beginning of the year. So now we're at 513. So one of the biggest things we do is collect and distribute that tax. $2 billion total runs through my office. We actually collect about $1.5 billion in property taxes, real and personal, and those amounts get distributed. We have schedules, very strict and rigid schedules. Those taxing districts include everything from water districts to fire districts to school districts to wastewater and sewage districts. Take your pick, right? Basically, any piece of government that does something is a taxing district. So we collect that money from people when they pay property taxes and then distribute it to them. And as you can imagine, it takes a lot to track $1.5 billion collected. So the other, and not more important, but it's definitely a unique feature of Arapahoe County, is actually we kind of act as the banker for the county. All money, well, not all monies, but most monies that actually come through the county, we actually say, yep, cool, check written, right? We make sure we balance it to the bank account, which is incredibly important, right? $1.5 billion or the $2 billion that touches our account, right, is balanced to the penny every day on purpose. We make darn sure that happens, and I have incredibly good people in my accounting office that does that. Michelle Claire is her name, heads that up, and she is amazing at that. So couldn't do my job without her. So shout out to her. One of the cool parts we also do is we take any idle funds that aren't immediately being needed and we invest them. We either invest them in some longer term. We can go up to $5 million or 5 years out on bonds. Right now, if you've paid any attention, we do have some higher interest rates. So we're trying to go generally as long as we can up to that 5 years, so we can collect as much interest as we can after interest rates drop to, 3.5%, potentially even 3% by the end of next year. So right now we're in the 4.5s, 4.4s, depending on which treasury you're looking at. So the cash flow needs are incredibly important. One unique thing that the treasurer's office does do that most treasurer's office don't do around the county is we invest our money ourselves. Michael Wallace is my finance guy, and he invests nearly every dollar we have and can be invested. So as he will tell you, he's been investing in bonds since they were doing it on rotary phones. So he's been doing it a while. So that's how we can get away with not paying somebody like CSAFE, one of the investment firms around the state that basically takes basis points. They take a percentage in fees to invest your money. So we actually do a good job of avoiding those fees and keeping that money on the interest, yet still getting phenomenal investments. So kind of works out well. That's generally our functions. Next slide, please. Thank you. We also serve as the public trustee. In July of 2020, this actually was kind of shoehorned, I will call it, by the legislature into the treasurer's office. So I kind of jokingly say I'm the only director essentially that has 2 jobs, right? Only elected/director that is the head of 2 offices. So the public trustee's office is incredible. It does the only thing like it in the country. Colorado is the only one that does this specific job. Other states have this kind of shoehorned into other offices, but we're the only one that has a standalone and such a robust mandated program. When people are foreclosed on in their houses because they can't pay their mortgage for whatever reason, we're the ones that actually protect their interest and make sure banks actually follow all the rules, all the regulations. If it does come up for auction, if people can't, end up curing those mortgage funds, then our job is also tasked of getting the highest possible amounts for those to make sure people can pay that off and still get at least some money back in their pocket, at least if they're losing their property. So it's incredible. It's an amazing, cool thing to see, truthfully, even though it's kind of a crappy position for people to be in if they're being foreclosed upon. But truthfully, Colorado does it the best. So that's one of those. Part of the ancillary stuff I do as treasurer is I also serve on 2 of the county, basically the retirement boards. Government retirement accounts are required to have boards that oversee the retirement accounts, the assets, and help essentially. There's the pension fund, 401A board. The reason they're called numbers is because they're part of the Internal Revenue Code. So if you look under 401A, it's actually Title 26, 401A. That's where you get the main rules for these accounts. So that's a pension. After you've been here for 8 years, if you're not elected, then you vest in this pension fund. Elected officials are vested right away in this fund, and you get basically a multiplier based on how long you've been here, coupled with your salary. So we oversee that. We make sure those funds, a little about $400 million, are actually invested appropriately, and we get the best return for county dollars on that guy. The other one is the 457 plan. Once again, numbers on purpose because it's the IRS code, but that is self-selected. You can opt into that plan. Most people think of it as a 401k plan if they're not familiar with government plans of that nature, but that's essentially what it is. You put in voluntary dollars, and we for elected officials, we don't have a matching. For directors, we do. Other employees, we don't also match, and that's something people are generally familiar with, but we let you pick from certain plans we have. So those boards help sit on and help guide with financial guidance as well there. So next slide. Budget and staffing, generally, we have about 2.8 million in our expenditures. That's 78%, I think, last time I checked. Salaries, oh, nope, I lied, I did the math. 82% budget and salaries and benefits. We're, like most offices, we're very salary heavy. So our revenue does fluctuate. That's a $28 million number. It completely depends on interest rates. Whatever they're doing, what liquidity interest rates are doing this year, they're getting close to 5%, plus what the investments we actually have out there. That's where a lot of that revenue comes from. This year probably won't be that high. Last year was a pretty good rate, or a pretty good time for bonds. That's why you have that. For staff, I have 20 in the treasurer's office, and then 4 in the public trustee's office. Let's see. And I think that's absolutely everything. Yep. I mean, other than I think January 1, 2023 is my first day in office. So some days it feels like 30 years. Some days it feels like 3 seconds. So that's no one is, obviously, treasurer's office is not up for re-election for another 2 years, as well as all the other offices. So we're looking forward to working with whoever ends up being in those offices. So we're always here for whatever financial advice you guys want, and can possibly give. And I know Todd is too, up there in finance. So appreciate it, and take any questions.
Great. Thanks so much, Treasurer. So we have reached, first of all, thank you everyone for staying with us. I know that was a ton of information that we threw at you, and there's a great amount of links in the chat that you can reference. I know we've answered some questions in the chat, but Kendra, I'm going to turn over to you to facilitate Q&A. I think we have our first question.
Yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, this is a great example. If you do have a question and you'd like to just verbally ask it, you can go ahead and raise your hand using that function at the top that Michelle mentioned earlier, or you can drop it in the chat and we'll read it into the record. Joshua, if you want to go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yes, this is a general question for anyone who wants to tackle it. What parts, if any, of your department do you think you could do without, have restructured, or have a revised mission or purpose that might make your job easier and lessen the burden of taxes? I thank you for your service.
If you want Kendra as the money guy, I can take that one.
Sounds good. Thank you, Treasurer.
Kind of based on the question, I will assume probably not the answer you're looking for, but I will straight up tell you that no part of the office, we are as lean as we possibly can get over here. And it's one of those that we only do, man, we do essential functions. There really isn't anything else that, could go away. There's always going to be, I think a debate about what government is actually for, the purpose of government. But really, from the county side of it, that we are that glue that holds cities and other taxing districts together along with the state. So yeah, that collection of taxes is absolutely essential. And that's what we do. We collect, we enforce it, we distribute it, which is incredibly complex. And we have just a few people that are really darn good at it.
Hey, Kendra, I would just add on to that, and that we run a pretty lean countywide, not just in the treasurer's office, right? But countywide, we run a pretty lean organization. As part of this year's budget process, recognizing some of the shortfalls, we've actually asked departments and offices to look at potential cuts, and so a lot of that information was readily available last year in our budget, and as we go forward, will be also shared as part of the 2025 budget. So, but it's a great question. And I think one of the things that our finance director referenced is also that all of our departments and offices are continually looking for efficiencies and improvements and process improvements, which we do throughout the organization. But we run a pretty lean and mean county compared to our peers.
And just to add onto that a tiny bit too, more, Michelle, thank you for reminding me. I would also say that when we've talked to every office and said, hey, if you had to cut 5% out of your budget, what does that look like? The vast majority of the answers include staff, which is scary because we have a saying here at the county that we do more with less. That is not out of want to, that is out of necessity, because our belt is tightened as tight as it possibly can get from what we've seen. There's always new ideas, but every time it comes up, that's what we try to address. But yeah, cutting staff is not where we ever want to go, and that's on purpose because we have incredibly good individuals that work here, and they do insane amounts of work for what we ask them to do. So we're already understaffed, I would say, as a general rule, by quite a bit. So even that is like, okay, that just proves we are basically as tight as we can get if the only place we can look to cut is staff, and we need every single one of them.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Treasurer. And thank you, Joshua, for that question. Do we have any other questions? Tyler asks, do you know what the biggest cost drivers have been?
Hey, Kendra, this is Todd. I could probably help answer that one.
I was just going to call on you, Todd.
Yeah. Well, I would say for the most, well, is everything a good answer? Probably not. Tyler. So let me just say, I think the inflation that a lot of us have seen in our personal lives has affected us as a government just as much, if not more. We buy things in much larger quantities than the average household, and things that are quite expensive, whether that be equipment and vehicles, asphalt, concrete, professional services, where all of those inflationary costs are lumped in along with the cost of labor. Obviously, as the Treasurer Westerberg just pointed out, the largest resource we have at the county that provides services to citizens are our employees, and keeping pace with increases in medical insurance and salaries is an important consideration. So I think the largest cost driver is the salary and benefits of employees, but that's just because that makes up a majority of what we are funding at the county. But it's followed close behind by inflationary increases to the supplies and materials and equipment that our personnel need to provide those services to citizens. Just to cite a few examples, it wasn't that long ago that a fully equipped patrol car to Arapahoe County for the sheriff's office cost about $46,000, and now it is difficult to buy a fully equipped patrol car that comes in under $70,000, and the inflationary increases for things such as motor graders or Class 8 dump trucks that do road work or push snow off our roads when we need it to. Those increases are even more severe, as well as for commodities such as asphalt or fuel oil or all the other things that we buy for the services we provide. So I think that's the best answer I can give, but it's essentially everything that goes into the engine that is county government has increased in cost over the past 5 to 10 years quite considerably.
Thanks, Todd. All right, we probably have time for another question or two if we have some burning questions for folks, or if you want to drop them in the chat. Please don't think this is the end of any question period. If you have any questions that you think of later, please don't hesitate to email any of us, including Tom or myself, who've sent a couple of communication emails to the candidates. We're happy to answer these questions at any time. All right. It doesn't seem like there are any current questions, but again, please feel free to email us. We'll send this recording out to folks, and happy to have additional conversations if there are some. Thank you all for attending. Thank you. We really appreciate all your time and all of your work to support this, and we look forward to seeing you all more. All right. Thanks so much, folks. We're going to close out the meeting. Have a good night.
Have a good night. Thank you for being here.